Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to the Hyperspace Database. I'm your humble host, Jonesy the Mandalorian, here with today's topic, MandalMotors line of starships from Star Wars Galaxies. The MandalMotors company was a starship manufacturer located on the outer rim planet of Mandalore, and the Mandalorians prided themselves on their designs and quality, which was evident in the success of their ships. There were 4 different ships in MandalMotors' main line that we see in the MMO video game Star Wars Galaxies. They are the M22T Crate gunship, the M3A Sick Interceptor, the G1 M4C Dune Lizard Fighter, and the M12L Kimogilla Multi-Role Fighter. The M22T Crate gunship was the largest ship in MandalMotors' line of space combat ships, and its fearsome weaponry was reminiscent of the equally fearsome Crate Dragon from Tatooine. While the ship was the largest that MandalMotors produced, it only crewed 2, a pilot and a gunner, though it had space for 2 prisoners, and a top-mounted turret for additional range of fire. The ship was relatively slow when compared to the other ships on this list, being able to fly at only 800 km per hour in atmosphere, which was about as fast as an unmodified YT-1300 stock freighter, of which the Millennium Falcon was a model. The biggest perk of the Crate gunship was in its firepower, as it was equipped with 2 heavy laser cannons, 3 medium ion cannons, and a concussion missile launcher that held up to 16 concussion missiles. This payload meant that the ship could be very deadly in combat, and could dish out considerable damage to an enemy unit or capital ship. It was originally commissioned by Jabba the Hutt as a command ship for his top lieutenants, but the ship was also produced for special clients of MandalMotors, though the incredible amount of weaponry attracted more attention than the company was intending, as the Empire took notice of these gunship juggernauts, and were not very keen on seeing competition out there for their own Imperial fleet. The M3A Sick Interceptor was the lightest ship on this list made by MandalMotors, and was named after the Sick lizard that resides on Tatooine, much like the Crate gunship was named after the fearsome Crate Dragon. It was capable of reaching speeds of up to 950 km per hour in atmosphere, and its defining trait was the fact that it could easily swap out its main weaponry for other armaments. It was capable of equipping twin light laser cannons, or twin light ion cannons, or a proton torpedo launcher with 4 torpedoes, or a concussion missile launcher with 6 missiles. This flexibility was a great benefit to fleets who had several of these fighters, as a commander could easily equip a different weapon to each craft to suit their needs of their squadrons, or have several wings that had one specific weapon attached. One downfall of this particular ship, though, was that apart from the main weapon, there wasn't room for more modifications, and it did not have an onboard navigation computer, so it had to rely on other ships to feed it hyperspace coordinates and other data needed for lightspeed travel. There was a variant model of the Sick Fighter, but the only difference between this model and the original was that the variant had wings that extended beyond the cockpit in front. It did not have changes to the components of the craft or to its base equipment. The Sick Fighter was initially designed at the very beginning of the rise of the Empire, and this change in power led to some friction in its development, as MandalMotors could not do business with the galaxy at large until an Imperial Overseer was a member of their board of directors. This stifled some of the production of the Sick Fighter, but MandalMotors secretly sold a number of these ships on the black market to the Hutt clans and mercenary groups like the Zon Consortium. The ship was formidable enough to make the risk of selling them worthwhile, but the ship was not advanced enough to warrant the direct attention of the Empire. These ships were not in full-scale production by the time that the Rebel Alliance was an active fighting force, but they were very popular with mercenary groups that got their hands on them, mainly for their speed and maneuverability, which fed into the trademark strategies of mercenary pilots. The G1 M4C Dune Lizard Fighter, which was also known as the Medium Hutt Fighter, was the medium-sized ship developed by MandalMotors, and was named after another Tatooine native creature, the Dune Lizard. This ship was based on the body design of the M3A Sick Interceptor, keeping the wedge-shaped sweeping back wing design, but it was made to be much more versatile than the Sick, with heavier weaponry and shielding being the primary advancements. It retained the mod ability that the Sick was famous for, being able to equip laser cannons, ion cannons, concussion missile launchers, or proton torpedo launchers, depending on the needs of the pilot and the squadron. It was able to reach speeds of up to 950 km per hour in atmosphere, and had a Class 2 hyperdrive system installed for lightspeed travel. This ship had much of the same history as the Sick Interceptor, as it was presented to the Imperial Navy at the rise of the Empire, but was rejected, instead being sold on the black market to smugglers and pirates, where it gained a high level of popularity. There was a variant model of Dune Lizard called the Type 2, which basically exchanged the co-pilot seat for an astromech slot, and narrowed the frame to improve pilot visibility. Last but not least is the Kimogilla Heavy Starfighter, which was the tank of MandalMotors' Starfighter line, being very heavily armed and armored. Its name was based on the reptilian Kimogilla creature, which was a fearsome native to the dusty pirate world of Locke, and was often compared to the Krayt Dragon of Tatooine, which was about the same size, though there was no relation between the two species. This ship was specifically designed per the instructions of the Hutt cartels, and was produced primarily for use by the legendary gangsters and their subordinates, though other models would be sold to the galaxy at large, and would find their way into the hands of mercenaries and bounty hunters. It was larger than many other single-person ships, and often served as a patrol ship in addition to its duties as a heavy fighter. It was heavily armed for a ship of its size, being equipped with 2 heavy laser cannons and a proton torpedo launcher that could also fire a payload of 12 concussion missiles. This ship was officially an upgrade to the Dune Lizard fighter, being more armored and generally heavier than the other ship, though this made it slower, as it was only capable of reaching speeds of up to 850 km per hour in atmosphere, versus the 950 of the Dune Lizard, though it also possessed a Class 2 hyperdrive and held an astromech unit in the standard model. These ships were all featured in the Jump to Lightspeed expansion of the MMO video game Star Wars Galaxies, which shut down its official servers in 2011, though several fans sought to bring back the project in 2016, and have rebranded it as Star Wars Galaxies Legends, which seeks to keep the game servers going so that players can still enjoy the content for as long as they can. Several of these ships were also featured in the X-Wing Tabletop Miniatures game, in the Scum and Villainy conversion kit and fighter expansion packs, where they have several dedicated playable cards associated with them, and miniatures that can be played in action on the battlefield. MandalMotors produced several quality starfighters in this short period of history, and the ships featured in the Star Wars Galaxies video game were just a small part of the Starship production company as a whole. The Mandalorian traditions of pride and honor were reflected in the ships that they produced, and the reputation that came with their craft was far-reaching for its dependability and toughness in the face of opposition and conflict. Want to know more about great Star Wars topics just like this one? Stick around to the end for some secret trivia, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and the bell to never miss an episode that I publish. Also chat me up in the comments, because that really helps me out, and I really want to hear from you guys too. Super special shout out to my gold captain level Patreon supporters Nick Sutphin, Miss 2003, and Matthew Scott. Your support is so appreciated and you help keep the show going. Thank you so much. Be sure to chat with me in the comments about this or any other Star Wars topic, and you can check the show out on social media for more news and channel updates. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.